Welcome into another edition of the Throwing Chairs podcast. We've got a little bit to discuss here in today's episode. We got the first two Big Ten games, Maryland and Michigan. That was the Tuesday night. There we go. I'm getting my days mixed up already. We're getting that close to break, guys. We're getting at that point. But without further ado, I'm your host, Hayden Smith, alongside Audrey Marr and Thomas Montalbano for the Hoosier Network. Guys, first of all, Audrey, I know it's been a very long, we'll say 48 hours, so we salute you for being here today.
It was fun. It was honestly really, really fun. I'm happy that I got the opportunity to go. Definitely a very busy time, I think, for everybody, but yeah, good game to go to and make the trip for, I think.
Exactly, and before we get started, we're going to start this episode like we do every episode of the Throwing Chairs podcast. Guys, I've got a question for you. This one's a little bit more basketball related, and kind of just came up with it as soon as I came in here. Who is your favorite basketball player of all time, past or present? Who's your best player of all time? Thomas, I'll go to you first because I have a feeling I already know the answer.
All right. Just off the top of my head, well, first of all, I have to say, right when you said it's going to be basketball related, of course, this was the first question I thought you were going to go to. So, my favorite player of all time, it always was and probably still to this day, is Carmelo Anthony.
There we go.
Of course.
Hey, you can't go wrong with Melo.
Yeah, Melo. I mean, watching him play. I mean, I'll also say, like, during that tenure when he was a Knick, there's plenty of frustrations as well. But for the most part, I mean, watching Melo play is there's not many others like him. So he was always my favorite.
You remember a lot of Linsanity?
Oh, of course. I remember,
yes.
What
a time for Knicks fans.
I might have to just make a Knicks podcast because I can talk about those guys forever.
I apologize about the loss from last night.
Oh, that was tough. Of course, that was tough. I'm glad the Hoosiers got it done, but that was definitely a tough Knicks Bucks got it done.
Yeah. Audrey?
Speaking of the Bucks.
You're okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Wisconsin native. This is so basic of me to say, but like, I'm just kind of thinking of right now, honestly, and who's stuck out to me the most. I have to go with Giannis. What?
How long have you been a Bucks fan for? I want to kind of test your knowledge here.
Okay, not long. I'm not gonna not long.
Okay.
I will say, sorry.
Don't be.
I'm more of a college basketball person than an NBA.
I can understand that.
NBA person. Mm-hmm. So I'd say I know more about college basketball than I do.
I will say, Thomas, you have something?
I don't know if I told you guys, but did I tell you guys I met Giannis a couple years ago? Yeah.
A couple weeks ago?
No, a couple years ago. Years ago.
Where'd you meet him?
It was in Wisconsin. I was visiting my brother who was going to Madison at the time. My older brother graduated at this point, but I was probably a junior in high school. Quick stories, bear with me. Visiting my brother, and my mom called me. We're walking the streets of Wisconsin, downtown Wisconsin. My mom called me, and she's like, "Do you know the Milwaukee Bucks?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm familiar with the Bucks." And she's like, "All right, well, apparently they're in town, so just keep your eyes peeled," basically. I'm like, "Okay." I hung up the phone, and I look up, and Giannis is on the street, like, taking a picture with the fan. So he's walking my way, I'm walking his. I ask him for a selfie. I get a selfie. He didn't stop and take a picture, which is what I wanted, but I got a blurry selfie. It's fine. This is my favorites. But what's funny is 10 minutes later, my mom sent me a picture. Giannis stopped to take a picture with my mom, but he wouldn't with me. Oh. But it's all a great story. And it turns out they were staying in my hotel, so we passed by, like, all of them.
That is insane.
Yeah. That was crazy.
You can't miss Giannis and a crowd of people.
No way.
She's like, "Keep your eyes peeled," and I looked up, and he was right there.
There he is.
It's hard to miss him.
That is hilarious. Well, I mean, do I have him on my laptop right now? Yeah, I do. So I've got him on my laptop right now. So I'm gonna go with Stephen Curry. Yeah, people can call me a bandwagon all they want. I mean, the guy changed the game, and I love his play style and I love his demeanor, and I've been a fan now for I think this is about 10 years now that I've been a fan of Steph Curry.
He changed the game forever. I think that's totally fair.
Yeah. My biggest Steph Curry memory besides the championships, I'm a little spoiled in that aspect. Sorry, Thomas.
It's been 50 years.
But I think my favorite Steph Curry memory was whenever he hit the game winner against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I was watching. I watched the entire game, and to see him hit that was just an out-of-body experience. Of course, I wasn't at the game. I was watching it on TV.
Yeah, that was incredible. That was early on, too, right?
2016.
Yeah, that was early on.
Yeah. He hit, I test my knowledge, 12 threes that game, which at that point tied the NBA record. Because then he broke it again, and then Clay broke it.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I thought you were going to say he broke the all-time three-point record, of course, at Madison Square Garden. Everybody breaks records against the Knicks.
Well, going away from NBA talk, we're talking about the Indiana Hoosiers, guys, 7-1 on the young season, 2-0 in Big Ten play, the first time since 2018. I will say, not to toot my own horn, but in my notes right now, in my phone, I have predicted 7 wins for Indiana and 1 loss up to this point. And you can fact check me over here. So I know my
Show
bad.
it to the camera.
I do have it. I gotta pull this up. I had it pulled up earlier.
Hold on.
There it is.
Wait,
Yeah, you gotta
wait.
There
that's
you go.
Cool. Are you zooming in on it?
So you got one. Yep.
I should have
There
showed
you
my
go.
honest picture.
7-1, and then after today, Indiana goes on a 2-game losing streak. So
There you go.
we'll see what happens, but I gotta say, guys, I am impressed that Indiana has been able to get these wins up to this point. Granted, they have not been pretty wins by any stretch of the imagination, but the Indiana team and the Indiana faithful have to be happy with where they are right now.
Yeah, I mean they don't. The record really just says a lot. I feel like they don't really look at the nitty gritty into the start of the season and the games and how they win the games. They look at the record. In the end, they really do. It's all that matters. And a lot of people were expecting that Michigan was going to come out and beat Indiana, and it wasn't going to be close. But now here, Michigan sits 4-5, Indiana sits 7-1. So I mean, it definitely. I think they're just getting more and more confident on the court, and they continue to grow as the season progresses.
Yeah, Audrey said it. They may not have all been pretty, and it doesn't have to be. And Mike Woodson knows that, and he's said in a lot of his press conferences, like, did we win? Or he stated our record, and that's what his main focus is to get wins. He said it before the season started, and he's done that so far. 7-1 is definitely something to be happy about, no matter how it got done.
Yeah, and I also, it comes to mind, and I hate that I think this, but you got to think there's other Indiana fans and maybe people within the organization that are thinking this as of right now. They're doing this without Xavier Johnson right now, and they're playing relatively well. Now, does that mean Indiana's a better team without Xavier Johnson? No, I do not believe that. I believe with Xavier Johnson on the court, it just creates a whole new dynamic for the Indiana offense and the defense. A couple players that stepped up for Indiana, and one that really comes to mind, especially on Tuesday night, while I'm way behind right now, CJ Gunn. I was beyond impressed with his performance, hitting 2 threes. Coming into that game, he had only hit 2 threes in his entire career, and then he hit 2 in one night against the Michigan Wolverines in hostile territory. I gotta say, I think he stepped up big time, and if he can continue this type of play, it's going to create so much more offense for Indiana off the bench and another spark plug kind of guy.
Yeah, I think I said that in my roundtable somewhere that he was either a player to watch out for or the breakout player of the year. And I stand by that. Even if his first couple of games on the stat sheet, it hasn't showed. It's kind of a situation almost like Gabe Cupps where he's really showing up on any other situation on the stat sheet except for points. But CJ Gunn last night showed up everywhere that he could have, and also he was sick. I don't the way he was questionable heading into the game. He told us at the presser that he was sick yesterday. He hadn't practiced all week, and heading into that game, having one of the best games of his career. It's crazy.
I will say he also said that you oh no I'm gonna misquote it.
Miss
Miss
100%.
100% of the shots you don't take. I think I remember that from a certain businessman that works in a paper company.
Just staying on the topic of CJ Gunn.
You don't want to go off topic?
Shout out Michael Scott right there. Just back to CJ Gunn real quick. Yeah, those 2 threes, they were not just any random threes. One of them was, they were both huge, but the second one gave the Hoosiers the lead back.
Yep.
They were going on that run, and Indiana got the lead back with that CJ Gunn three, and I think Michigan took a timeout after that. Beyond that, he had 4 steals. Those were huge steals. I think they had 2 fast break opportunities, and unfortunately, they didn't convert on either of them, which is definitely something to look at. But CJ Gunn just doing it all, honestly. Maybe not in the scoring aspect, but everything else.
And a captain for Indiana right now and a senior, Trey Galloway, he's certainly been struggling, guys. He's now 3 for 22 from beyond the arc, way behind where he was at this point last year, where he hit a career high 33s on 65 attempts, and teams really have started to respect him, and they've pressured him a lot more. What have you all seen from Trey Galloway, and what really needs to change there? Can anything change?
I mean, I think it's really just the comfortability factor around when you're going towards the basket and attacking the rim, because, I mean, he was 3 for 12 last night in field goal attempts, and we saw a lot of that in the second half. I think the first half was definitely a bit worse for him, but it's kind of the same situation with Gabe Cupps. I mean, he can really show up when it comes to the offensive side of things, but he's really just a big factor. He's getting more minutes now that Xavier Johnson's out, and he's really just the main leader on the court right now. And that's what he's being utilized for, 31 minutes. He had 36 minutes. Was that Harvard or?
Yes.
Yeah. And then Maryland, he had a lot of minutes as well. Obviously, he had a better game there as well. But yeah, it really just comes to his leadership on the court.
Yeah, he had 34 against Maryland. Galloway, yeah, he's struggling. We know he's capable of more. Hayden started this question saying how he was doing last season. That was great, and we know he's capable of doing that. And time will tell, and it's December 6th. There's a lot of season left. And I also have to say, it's not like he's doing nothing. He did get 9 points, 2 assists, a steal. It's not nothing. We'd like more from him, especially at the minutes that we just pointed out that he's getting, but he's doing what he can.
Now, guys, let's talk about the coaching of Indiana, especially on Tuesday night's game up in Ann Arbor. Mike Woodson, in crunch time, whenever the game was really on the line, I thought made some incredible coaching decisions. Fouling up 3 to send Michigan to the line, putting Khalil Ware on the inbounds pass, and sending Mackenzie Mbako to the free throw line whenever Indiana really needed some points at the charity stripe. I mean, you look at how Mike Woodson has been able to coach down the stretch. I think it's been absolutely incredible, especially on Tuesday night. I just want to hear y'all's thoughts as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. Woodson made numerous great plays. It seemed like every move he made was the right thing to do, and every move he made was exactly what he needed to do. Indiana only won by 3 in this game, and in large part to Mike Woodson down the stretch.
Yeah, I agree. And I will say, I think he also attributes it, and the players also attribute it to the other coaching staff around them. And I know CJ Gunn, he was talking about it in the press conference, that his confidence has grown just because he's able to get shots up with people like Jordan Holes and Calbert Cheney. I mean, they're just really massive pieces to the puzzle in every player this season, and I think it really does attribute to their success on the court.
I also just want to add real quick that under Mike Woodson, the Hoosiers now beaten Michigan 4 times, and 2 of those times
4 straight at that.
4 straight at that, and 2 of those times were at Michigan's home. That that's saying a lot, honestly.
Especially a team like Michigan. I mean, they're no pushover. That's for certain. I mean, with Juwan Howard, granted, Juwan Howard was not the head coach last night. He was assistant on the bench after getting heart surgery over the offseason. But, I mean, they're no pushover team. They've been a perennial powerhouse in the Big Ten for at least 2 years ago. They were NIT last season. But that's a topic for another day. Guys, I want to break up this segment before we talk about the Auburn game down in Atlanta. I just want a de-stress time because we are just about to get to finals week up here at Indiana University. I just want a little bit of a de-stress, so if we could all just take one deep breath in and out. There we go. Everybody.
That was great.
There we go.
That was
Meditation
great.
segment.
I will say, was anybody out here in the Franklin Commons yesterday whenever there was a snake on the floor?
Thank God I wasn't.
This is the first time I'm hearing
You
about
guys
that.
have not seen
It
this?
was really bad, and I will say, don't use this against me, guys. But snakes are my biggest fear.
Oh,
and
I'm probably with you
God,
there.
I'm
probably
so
gonna cry
happy
in
that
this
I
picture
wasn't
then.
here. I'm not
There's the
looking.
snake.
I'm not looking at the snake. I am not looking.
Oh, someone brought it.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it wasn't. It's just
I thought it was like a
hanging
loose
around.
snake going around the comments. That's huge.
That thing
That
is
is wild.
massive.
What time was that?
Oh
I
my
can't believe I missed
gosh.
it. I didn't even hear a word about that. That's wild.
I mean, this thing was probably around 10 feet long.
I hate.
We went from having puppies out here on, I believe that was Monday, to giant snakes out here to apparently de-stress students because it's de-stress week up here in Bloomington. That did not de-stress me. If anything, that made me even more stressed out.
I think a snake would stress me more than any final.
They had tarantulas out there too.
Like,
and
why?
They were putting it on people's heads.
No.
I can't believe I missed all this.
he walked-
All of this would be great for me, and there was cookies today, so everything this
I
week
missed the
seems to be
cookies.
great. Yeah.
I got the snakes and spiders, but I missed the cookies today.
If I were
wish
to
I got
just
the
walk
snakes and
out,
spiders.
if I were to just walk out from class or anything or a meeting here,
And see a snake?
and I just saw a snake, I would never come back to this building.
No,
I don't
literally,
think I could ever do
they
it.
brought out the tarantula and was putting it on people's heads, and then the guy came over to me and was like, "Here, it's your turn." I said, "I am not doing that, dead or alive. You are not putting that thing on my head." I don't know how that de-stresses people out. The dogs that they had here on Monday afternoon. That definitely de-stressed me. I have my own dog back home. It's a Havanese. And it's a very odd brand. I don't know if anybody knows that kind of. Did I just say brand?
You did.
Breed.
You did.
That's so good, and neither of us
Brand.
reacted. We just went with it.
I have a Pepsi at home. I have a Coca-Cola.
I do have a golden. I have a golden at my apartment here, so I will say I have my own de-stressor every day, which is nice.
Thomas, you have any furry friends?
Shout out to Axel and Lolly. They're both mixes. They're hounds. I'll see them soon.
That's amazing.
I have Callie at home too. I have another.
How old are your all's dogs?
Axel
Audrey, I
was-
know yours is very young.
My dog with me here is 2, and then my dog at home is 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've
Thomas?
had so many dogs, honestly, in my life, which is crazy
Wow.
to say because I'm not that old. But, well, I guess I am kind of old. I don't know.
You're the oldest out of the bunch.
23 on Friday.
Hey, yeah.
Let's go.
Happy early birthday
Thank
to
you,
Thomas
thank you.
Montalbano. Thomas,
I appreciate it.
have a great birthday,
Are
man.
you
Thank you.
one? Are you two?
That'll take too long.
Happy birthday
Oh my God.
to you.
It's like you don't know what to do. when you're
Happy
singing happy
birthday to you.
Thank you, guys.
Happy birthday, dear Thomas. Happy birthday to you.
I can't say my wish. All right, I can't say my wish, but it's for the benefit of all of us and for everybody here at school. So, yeah, I don't know.
That's
Thank
what
you
I'm
guys.
talking
Back to my dogs.
I will say never. That was probably the worst hearing of happy birthday. I think
Oh, that was awful.
That was horrible.
I had to say, like, what do you?
That was so out of tune.
Out of all of the, like, I don't know what to do when they're singing happy birthdays. That was.
Whenever people sing happy birthday to you is the most awkward thing ever. Because you're just kind of sitting there like.
So I really appreciate it though. I don't know. That might be like I could unless there was a podcast on someone's birthday, that might have been the first happy birthday sang on a podcast. So
It might. Well, more on your dogs, Thomas.
Lolly's a puppy. She's only just above a year, and Axel is no more than 4. Both very young. Love them both very much.
Wow. Okay, well, I've got the oldest dog here. Willow is my dog back home. Yeah, Willow Smith, essentially. She just turned 11. Yeah, she's doing great. I mean, she's very, very small. I wouldn't ever say very small, but she's about that big. She's very lazy, I'll say that. She's always been. She will sleep right there and not care about anything else. Audrey, I'll say, I think we just found our socials clip for the podcast. I think. I'll take a bow there. That was a full group effort. All right, let's get on to Indiana is entering non-conference slate for the final time this season. They've got, I believe it's 5 more non-conference games this season before it is full-on Big Ten conference play. Guys, Indiana travels down to Auburn. They travel down to the 404 in Atlanta, Georgia, to play at the State Farm Arena where the Atlanta Hawks play. Trae Young.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I honestly, not many people know this, but Trae Young is so far from the King of New York. Look at his record against the Knicks. Look at his stats against the Knicks.
But the one playoff series.
Yeah, one playoff series. At this point was like not 4 years ago, but at least 3 years ago.
It's been a while.
Whatever. Say whatever you want about Trae Young.
But Indiana will look to extend their winning streak to 5 games. They're taking on an Auburn Tigers team that is 17th in KenPom rankings. Guys, this is another huge test for Indiana. It's not a true road game. It is a neutral site, but in Atlanta, Georgia, so there is going to be a heavy Auburn fan base, kind of similar to what you saw in New York City at the Empire Classic, but you had a lot of Indiana alumni in New York City. I'm not sure how many alumni are going to be from Atlanta. So it's probably going to be a pretty hostile environment for Indiana. What is your all's thoughts going into this game? I believe none of us are traveling for the game down in Atlanta, Georgia. So you guys will have to follow along with us as we do with you all on, I don't
ESPN.
believe it's ESPN. I'm really curious on who's going to call that game. Dick Vitale, probably not. What is your all's thoughts on this matchup?
I think it'll be the matchup that, I mean, from here on out, I think Kansas will obviously be a big tell as well, but I think that this will be the biggest test for Indiana, especially from what they've played so far this season. I think it'll be a massive, massive factor on if Xavier Johnson does or does not play. I think I think he did want to play in either this game. If he doesn't play for this game, I think it's definitely going to happen for Kansas. It's the game that he broke his foot in. Yeah. It's definitely a it's a sore topic for him. But yeah, I think Auburn is a very, very good team you have down here. They're 17th in KenPom. I mean, it's gonna be one of the biggest matchups for them.
They are coming off a loss, however, to App State. Granted, it was on the road, a 69-64 loss. I mean, in total, they're 5-2 on the year. I mean, you take a look at the teams they've beaten: Southeastern Louisiana, Notre Dame, who is not great this year, St. Bonaventure, the Bonnies, Alabama A&M, and Virginia Tech. That's a solid win at home, and then losses to Baylor and App State. So Indiana's coming in with a little more confidence on their hot streak, on their winning streak thus far, and Auburn's coming in trying to get back on top, Thomas.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too. I don't know too much about Appalachian State.
They're
But
86th in KenPom. That's all I'll say.
yeah. So that's definitely a game that Auburn should have won, and so that to me means two things. One, you're right, Indiana has more momentum going into this game, but two, Auburn doesn't want the headlines to get too ahead of themselves, and they're looking to bounce back off that loss. I think it'll be another close game. Indiana obviously only has the one loss against UConn. That was their toughest test of the season so far. Every other game that they were quote-unquote supposed to win, they have won. And, yeah, I think it'll be really close. I could see either team winning. I don't know too much about Auburn, but
Yeah, I will say this is an Auburn team that plays kind of similar to Indiana. They aren't an incredible team from beyond the arc. They just shoot under 30%, which is 286th in the country. Indiana, on the opposite end of that spectrum, they're 25% and nearly dead last in the entire NCAA in three-point percentage. But it's two teams that play a very similar pace. They both average just around 70 possessions a game. The league average is at 69. So they play relatively slow, try to kind of work it around. But Indiana, I will say, and it really got my attention during the Michigan game. There's at times, and especially whenever Malik Renew and Khalil Ware are on the bench, Indiana is way more stagnant offensively. They're a lot slower. They bleed the shot clock. Whenever you have Khalil Ware and Malik Renew in the game, they're a lot more comfortable and they know who to go to. So I just think Indiana's going to need to be able to find a way around that.
I mean, it always goes back to the buddy ball factor. I mean, they led the stat sheet again last night, and they consistently pretty much lead the stat sheet. Malik Renew had 15 points. Khalil Ware had 13. I mean, I think their opponents are recognizing more that they are going to be the biggest, the pieces that bring the biggest production for this Indiana offense. So there's going to be a bit more of a factor on them. Probably going to be like Khalil was pretty much triple teamed. I mean, it's just going to be a very big factor. And if they can be successful in Auburn, which I do think that they will be, I think it'll be pretty successful.
Thomas?
yeah, I just want to say stagnant was the perfect word to describe that.
Very.
Last night, just looking back to the most recent example, there was a period in the second half, I don't remember exactly when, it was probably midway through the second half, where they were so obviously trying to find Malik Renew or Khalil Ware and trying to force it for the longest period of time, and nothing was coming out of it because they were the only two who were able to figure anything out, and that just can't keep happening. As you guys said, like, teams are figuring that out, and it's clear on the stat sheet, and it's clear if you watch any game that these two are the two that Indiana wants to go to, and if the rest of the group can't figure it out, then it's going to cause problems down the line.
Yeah, you talk about forcing it down low. Indiana had 10 turnovers in the first half of play. Granted, they were much better in the second half, only having 3 in the entire second half of action. But 10 in the first half, there were just... I think of one play, Trey Galloway had it on the right wing, and he was looking at Khalil Ware the entire time, and the defender knows that's exactly who he's going to go to. And Khalil is on the backside of the defender, and Trey Galloway just still tries to force it over the top, and it's picked away, and it goes back the other direction. I mean, Indiana just needs to know, work it around the perimeter a little bit, get it into the middle of, because most teams are going to pack the paint. It's exactly like what Dan Hurley said after the UConn game. That's all they had to do was pack the paint because they know Indiana's not going to be able to beat any team from beyond the arc, and they have yet to prove that this season. So, guys, going into this game against Auburn, it's the most controversial segment that we have on the podcast. Our player or players to watch for Indiana against Auburn. Guys, who do you have for me?
Well, I'm looking specifically at the second unit because they really did step up against. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm literally running on no sleep.
No, you're good.
My brain is not
we're getting
functioning
close,
right
I
now.
promise.
My brain is not functioning, but they were a massive piece to the puzzle last night against Michigan. specifically, Caleb Banks. He's in his hometown, so
That is true.
He's in home state, so I think he's gonna have a very big game. I mean, we saw it at Empire Classic; he really stepped up there as well. And it may just be those neutral sites for Caleb Banks. So I think he'll definitely be someone to watch out for in Atlanta.
Thomas?
I'm gonna do a couple guys as we change this segment to players.
See, I'm getting better at this. But isn't the last 2 podcasts I've picked one person?
Now, did you not just pick the entire bench?
No, I said I'm looking at the second unit, but
Okay.
I picked Caleb Banks.
Okay. That's
Right?
fine. That's fine. Yeah,
Right?
it's gotten better.
It's gotten
All
better.
right, I'm gonna
I will
stick
say.
to 2 people. I'm gonna stick to only 2 people. One of them, I'm gonna. Oh, it's so easy to just go the hot hand and say Khalil or Malik,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna do that. So I'm not gonna say either of those guys. I'm gonna say Trey Galloway.
Okay, bounce back game.
Yeah, I'm looking for a bounce back game from Trey Galloway. I think he's looking for one from himself as well. And then beyond him, I'm going to go with Mackenzie McBacco. He's really started connecting the dots these last couple games. He likes playing under the bright lights. Maybe that didn't show so much as it should have at MSG, but I do think he likes playing on the big stage, and Auburn will certainly be a big stage. So I'm going to go with him. He's done well the last couple games.
I was going to go with Mackenzie Mbako, but Audrey, I think you made a great point with Caleb Banks being back in his hometown. I think he's going to be really comfortable. He's probably going to have his family there, and he's going to want to really show out, and I think that's exactly what he can do. And I mean, the past couple of games, I thought he's played really, really well. Against Michigan, he had 6 points, and all of those coming inside the arc, but he's really found his role with Indiana this season. And that's really important for a team like Indiana and Caleb Banks. He's really taken a whole other step up than where he was last season. He's finding his role, like I just said, and he's looking just so much more comfortable out there, especially taking 3-point shots. He's already attempted 7 on the year, which is 2 more than he attempted the entire last season. He's shooting 43%. I mean, 3 for 7. And Indiana's going to take anybody over 40%, whether they've taken 7 shots or they've taken 20 shots from outside. I mean, it's a win-win situation for Indiana. I mean, Banks from Hampton, Georgia. I'm really looking at him to make a really big contributing factor off the bench. Guys, final segment here before we end things.
I just want to add
Thomas,
one
what do we
last
got?
thing. I want to go all the way back to what you said at the beginning
Go
about
for
Caleb Banks. Yeah, playing in his hometown. If his family's there, yeah, I like that pick
huge.
a lot. CJ Gunn had his family in attendance last night in Michigan, and he had that big game. I know his family was happy to see him, and they were goofing around with him after. So, yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to go all the way back and say, yeah, if Caleb Banks has his family in town, I might have to ride with you guys, and he'll be a good player to watch.
I will say, Audrey, I loved. Well, and Josh Post really is the one that got the picture of all the players during the.
Hold on, let me pull
really
this
wasn't. It wasn't really a press conference. It was more of a media scrum right outside of. At least from what it looked like it was right inside the tunnel, and really chaotic sequence there. But that was really cool to see. They were CJ Gunn and it was Malik Renew was getting interviewed, and then all the players are behind him taking pictures.
Khalil,
Yeah,
Anthony Walker.
here I have it here.
Wow, we're utilizing the
We're
phones
really utilizing the
really
phones
well
today.
today.
Oh, I'm on the wrong camera. But here we go.
That is amazing, Thomas. I'm sorry.
And then-
Hey, no, you can see it.
Wait, no, wrong way.
There he is.
The newest media outlet
Khalil Ware. That
That's so
is
covering Indiana men's basketball.
that is absolutely hilarious.
He's so focused in on his shot.
There we go.
So
It's
zoomed in on you.
I gotta fix my hair here real quick. I really didn't fix it today. Okay, we gotta get back on topic. Final thing, so Audrey can go back home and get some sleep. Score prediction: Indiana versus Auburn. Guys, I feel bad that I've made you guys go first every single time.
Go ahead.
So you know what? I'll take a gander at this one this time around. I'm gonna say last time that we had this, it was Maryland, and I will say I think I was the only one that didn't pick Indiana to win without Xavier Johnson. So I will take the first loss of the season.
Yeah.
I'm in dead last now, so it's you two are the only other undefeateds.
I must say, I'm not totally sure how the point system works.
It's pretty much
Yeah.
it's on whoa. It's on who it's not the score.
Yeah.
It's like
not
if you picked Indiana to win, then you
Okay,
then you
cool.
win.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's essentially like money line, essentially.
I like it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to say Indiana has really impressed me these last couple games, I will say, especially against Michigan in hostile territory. But that's Michigan. Michigan is, let's put it lightly, not a tremendous team this season. They have a lot. They have a lot of potential, but a lot that they still have to work out. Especially Indiana as well has a lot to work out. I'm going to say Auburn's going to take this one 77-70 out in Atlanta. They've kept a lot of games this year close. And I think this is going to end up being an Indiana team where just about every game this season is going to be close in one aspect or another. So I'm going to take the Auburn Tigers to defeat Indiana and end the winning streak 77-70.
Okay, I am going to go. Why is this still so messed up?
There we go.
There we go. But looking at Auburn, they're pretty much in the 80 range for scoring.
Yep.
And Indiana's pretty much in the 70 range. So I think it's going to stick to that. I think it'll be a definitely all about the offensive production on both sides of the ball. But I know, I think it's kind of the way that the teams are performing is kind of flipped right now. I think Auburn started off very hot. They lost to Baylor, but it was only a 6-point game. Baylor was ranked 6th at the time.
Yeah.
And now Indiana, granted, they did win all those games, but they were, as you said, ugly wins. But I think now Indiana's definitely on a hot streak.
Pick them, Audrey.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Indiana here.
Wow.
I think they're going to go on the road.
Okay.
I am going to go.
I'm curious about the score
it's the
prediction
score
now.
prediction. I'm thinking
Indiana.
a 5-point differential, but where?
I feel like we really picked apart your brain right there.
You really did.
Yeah, that was good.
I'm going to go
Do it, Audrey. Come on.
83-78 Indiana.
Okay. Indiana scores 83
Yep,
in State Farm Arena.
I'm
Okay.
going with it.
Thomas, what do we got?
I'm going to do. I don't have as much of an analysis as that, but I'm going to go.
An analysis is an analysis.
No, that was a great analysis. Don't get me wrong. I just don't have one. I'm gonna go with Indiana as well.
Wow.
I'm gonna go with what I do know, which is Indiana. So Indiana has been performing well, as we have mentioned a couple times. Auburn is coming off that loss in a game that, as we discussed, they should have won. And I can see Auburn winning this game, but score prediction, I'm going to go. It'll be close, of course. So give me 71-68.
Okay. That one I can respect it a little bit more. Not to say Audrey, you're.
Thanks.
Not to say you're. I'm not to absolutely bash your score prediction. But I could, I'm a realist. So, okay. Well, without further ado, that is going to do it for this episode of the Throwing Chairs podcast. Be sure to follow the Hoosier Network on all of our social media platforms to stay up to date on Indiana basketball. Until next time, alongside Audrey Marr, Thomas Montalbano, and I'm Hayden Smith, hanging up the phone on this episode of the Throwing Chairs podcast. Have a great day, Indiana fans.